The emergency room showdown, the automatic doors of Manhattan General Hospital burst open with a force that matched the storm brewing inside. Julian Harrington strode through the entrance like he owned the building, which in a twisted way he almost did. His company had donated millions to this very hospital. His designer suit, now wrinkled from the car accident, still cost more than most people earned in 6 months. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow, but his phone remained glued to his ear. "I don't care what the quarterly reports say, Mitchell. Make it happen or clean out your desk." Julian's voice echoed through the waiting area, turning heads. He ended the call with a sharp tap and addressed the receptionist without making eye contact. "I need a private room. That floor. And get me Dr. Reynolds. He knows who I am." The young receptionist blinked nervously. You need to check in first and wait for triage assessment. Do you have any idea who I am?" Julian leaned against the counter, his gray eyes cold as winter steel. "One call, and I can have this entire department renovated or demolished. Your choice." A calm voice cut through the tension like a gentle blade. "That sounds like a threat, and we don't respond well to those here." Julian turned to find a woman in navy blue scrubs standing behind him, a tablet tucked under her arm. She had warm brown skin, dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, and eyes that held no fear, only assessment. Her badge read, "Camila Santos, RN, ICU, excuse me." Julian's eyebrows rose in disbelief. "You're excused," Camila replied smoothly, gesturing to the triage area. "But you still need to follow protocol like everyone else. Head injury, possible concussion, could have internal bleeding. Money doesn't make you immune to medical emergencies." The emergency protocol battle. Julian stared at her, unused to being contradicted so directly. "I'll wait for Dr. Reynolds."
"Dr. Reynolds is in surgery for the next 4 hours. I'm your nurse."
"And we're starting your assessment now." Camila's tone remained professional but firm. "You can cooperate, or you can sign an AMA form and leave against medical advice. But you won't bully your way into special treatment here." Something flickered in Julian's expression. Anger, certainly, but also a grudging surprise. People didn't talk to him this way. Board members cowered. Competitors retreated. Yet this nurse stood her ground with the calm certainty of someone who had faced far more intimidating situations than an arrogant billionaire. "Fine." Julian bit out the word. "But I want this done quickly. Medicine doesn't work on your schedule, Mr. Harrington." Camila led him to a triage bay. "It works on your body's schedule. Now sit down and let me do my job." Camila checked his vital signs. Julian found himself studying her. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, gentle but confident. She documented everything on her tablet, asking questions in a methodical way that reminded him of how he approached business. Problems? Any dizziness? Nausea? Blurred vision? Camila's fingers pressed gently against his neck, checking for swelling. "No, no, and no, I'm fine. This is a waste of time. Your blood pressure's elevated, pulse is irregular, and you have a potential concussion." Camila stepped back, meeting his gaze directly. "You're not fine, and pretending otherwise could kill you." The prediction that changed everything. Julian scoffed. "I've survived hostile takeovers, market crashes, and assassination attempts on my character. I think I can handle a minor car accident." Surviving and thriving are different things. Camila typed notes into her tablet. "You're going to stay here for at least 6 hours of observation. During that time, I predict you'll experience a severe headache, possible vision disturbances, and nausea. Your pride will make you hide these symptoms until they become dangerous." "That's ridiculous. You can't possibly know that." "Actually, I can." Camila pulled up his chart. "Your pupils are slightly uneven, indicating potential intracranial pressure. Your accident report shows your head hit the side window at approximately 40 miles per hour. Classic presentation for delayed concussion symptoms. But you'll ignore all of this because admitting vulnerability feels like weakness to someone like you." Julian felt his jaw tighten. "Someone like me? Someone who measures worth by control?" Camila's voice softened slightly, not with pity, but with understanding. "I've seen it before. High-powered executives, politicians, celebrities, they come in thinking money or status can override biology. It never works. You think you know me after 5 minutes? I know your type. I've treated dozens of patients who believed they were invincible." Camila prepared an IV line. Smart ones listen, the others learn the hard way. Julian wanted to argue, to prove her wrong, to walk out and show her that. He made his own rules, but something in her certainty gave him pause. She wasn't intimidated by his wealth or his threats. She simply saw him as a patient. Nothing more, nothing less. "I'll stay for 1 hour," he conceded. "Then I'm leaving. We'll see." Camila inserted the 4 with such skill he barely felt it. Sometimes the body has a way of humbling, even the most stubborn people. Hours later, Julian's head felt like it was splitting apart. The fluorescent lights became daggers in his eyes. Nausea rolled through him in waves. Every prediction Camila had made came true with frightening accuracy. When she returned to check on him, he was pale and sweating, his arrogance replaced by genuine discomfort. "Still planning to leave?" Camila asked, adjusting his 4 fluids. Julian closed his eyes against the pain. "How did you know?" "Experience, training, and the ability to see past what people show me to what's actually happening." She pulled up a chair beside his bed. "Your body's trying to tell you something, Mr. Harrington. The question is whether you're finally ready to listen." For the first time in years, Julian Harrington had no answer. This quiet nurse from Brazil had done something no competitor, no board member, no adversary had ever accomplished. She had predicted his downfall and made him face a truth. He spent his life denying. He was human, vulnerable, and not nearly as in control as he believed. The study of an unmovable force. Julian Harrington had built an empire by understanding patterns, exploiting weaknesses, and finding the pressure points that made people bend. Over the next 12 hours, confined to his hospital bed, he turned that analytical mind toward Camila Santos. Every interaction became data. Every conversation, a puzzle to solve. She brought him medication at precise intervals, her timing impeccable. She checked his monitors without small talk, efficient but never cold. She answered his questions with facts, deflected his attempts at personal conversation, and remained utterly immune to his charm, his irritation, and his money. "You must want something," Julian said during her evening rounds, his headache finally subsiding to a dull throb. "Everyone wants something. Name your price." Camila looked up from adjusting his IV drip, one eyebrow raised. "My price for what exactly? For admitting I was right to want to leave? For saying you overreacted?" Julian shifted in the uncomfortable bed. "I'll donate another wing to this hospital in your name. Double your salary. Get you transferred to any department you want. You still don't understand." Camila pulled up a chair, and Julian recognized the gesture. She only sat down when she was about to tell him something important. "I don't need to be right, Mr. Harrington. I need you to be healthy. Those are completely different goals." "Everyone needs to be right. It's human nature." "No, everyone wants to be right. Need is different." Camila folded her hands in her lap. "I needed to keep you here because leaving would have risked your life. Your ego wanting validation doesn't change medical reality." Julian studied her face, searching for cracks in her composure. "You're telling me there's nothing I can offer? No dream job? No financial security? No opportunity that would make you compromise?" "Compromise what?" Camila shook her head. "I left a comfortable position at Snow Paolo's best private hospital to work here. I gave up a higher salary, better hours, and proximity to my family. You think your money is more tempting than what I already sacrificed?" In Veiling of Two Worlds, this caught Julian's attention. "Why would you do that?" "'Cause medicine here reaches people who need it most. Immigrants without papers, families without insurance, people the system forgot." Camila's eyes held a quiet fire. "In Brazil, I worked with wealthy patients who demanded perfection but didn't truly need me. Here I make a real difference." "That's naive. Money makes differences. Donations, foundations, investments in healthcare infrastructure." Julian gestured broadly. "Noble poverty helps no one." "I'm not poor. I'm purposeful. There's a difference." Camila stood to check his monitors. "Your foundation donated $15 million to this hospital last year. Impressive. But do you know how much actually reached patient care? How much went to administrative overhead? Did you ever visit to see the impact? Or was it just a tax deduction?" Julian felt heat rise to his face, and not from the concussion. I employ thousands of people. A company drives innovation that improves lives globally. Don't lecture me about impact. I'm not lecturing. I'm pointing out that you measure impact in numbers while I measure it in lives. Camila returned to her chair. Neither is wrong. But you can't buy integrity, and you can't intimidate someone who knows their purpose. Before Julian could respond, alarms blared from the room next door. Camila was on her feet instantly, moving with a speed that startled him. Through the open door, Julian watched her take command of a situation spiraling toward disaster. When skill meets crisis, an elderly patient had crashed, his heart monitor showing dangerous arrhythmia. Two younger nurses stood frozen, panic evident in their faces. Camila moved between them like a conductor leading an orchestra. Start compressions. You, grab the crash cart. Someone page cardiology now. Her voice carried authority without aggression. Sir, can you hear me? We're going to help you. Julian watched from his doorway, forgotten in the chaos. Camila's hands moved with precision, starting an IV line while directing others. Her calm presence transforming panic into coordinated action. She anticipated the doctor's orders before they arrived, prepared medications before they were requested, and maintained a steady stream of encouragement to both patient and staff. His rhythm is stabilizing, one nurse called out. Good. Maintain compressions until the doctor confirms. Camila never stopped moving, her focus absolute. You're doing great. Stay with us. The patient's eyes fluttered open, confused but alive. The doctor arrived and took over, but the immediate crisis had passed. Camila had bought the time needed, transformed chaos into survival. Julian returned to his bed before she finished, processing what he had witnessed. This wasn't just competence. This was mastery born from dedication, skill honed through purpose. She had controlled a life-and-death situation with the same calm authority. She used to handle his arrogance. The crack in the armor when Camila returned to his room 30 minutes later. Julian saw her differently. Exhaustion lined her face, but satisfaction gleamed in her eyes. That man is alive because of you, Julian said quietly. That man is alive because of a team working together. Camila washed her hands at the sink. I just coordinated what needed to happen. Don't diminish what you did. I watched you take control of that room in seconds. Julian leaned forward. You have a gift for leadership? Have you ever considered administration? Running a department? You could impact hundreds of patients instead of dozens. I impact hundreds of patients by being excellent at the bedside. Administration would take me away from that. Camila dried her hands, turning to face him. You see, advancement is moving up and away. I see it as going deeper into what I love. Julian absorbed this, his business mind struggling with a philosophy so foreign to everything he knew. But you could do more with authority, resources, and power to change systems. I change systems one patient at a time by showing what excellence looks like. Camila approached his bed to check his vitals one final time for her shift. You changed industries by building from nothing? I respect that. But you forgot something along the way. What did I forget? That the people you left behind when you climbed to the top are still human beings deserving dignity, not just resources to exploit. Camila met his gaze steadily. Your employees, your competitors, even difficult patients like you. We all matter, beyond our utility to your empire. The words hit Julian like a physical blow, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. He had spent 15 years building Harrington Industries by viewing people as assets. Obstacles are irrelevant, efficient, profitable, empty. The moment of recognition my childhood was spent watching my mother work 3 jobs to keep us fed. Julian heard himself saying, surprising them both with the admission, I swore I would never be powerless again. Money became power. Power became control. Control became everything. And now you're in a hospital bed, unable to control your own body, much less an empire. Camila's voice held no mockery, only observation. Does it make you powerless, or does it make you human? Julian had no answer. For the first time since building his fortune, He questioned whether the armor he wore had become a prison. Camila gathered her things, her shift ending. Your scans came back clear. You can be discharged in the morning with follow-up instructions. But Mr. Harrington, I'm going to tell you something as a healthcare provider, not just your nurse. What? The stress you carry, the way you treat? Your body is an inconvenience. The belief that you can override basic human needs with willpower. That's going to kill you long before any car accident does. She paused at the door. You have resources most people can only dream of. The question is whether you'll use them to build something meaningful or just pile up more evidence of your control. She left without waiting for a response, leaving Julian alone with thoughts more uncomfortable than his injuries. This nurse had done something impossible. She had made him question everything without raising her voice, threatening him, or asking for anything in return. For a man who prided himself on having all the answers, Julian Harrington suddenly had nothing but questions. The discovery that changed everything. Morning light filtered through the hospital blinds, casting stripes across Julian's bed. He had barely slept, his mind replaying conversations with Camila, examining his life through a lens he had avoided. For years, the discharge papers sat on his bedside table, but something felt unfinished. Dr. Reynolds arrived with Camila for the final examination. His expression serious, in a way that made Julian's stomach tighten. The doctor studied the overnight test results, then exchanged a meaningful glance with Camila. Mr. Harrington, we need to discuss something unexpected, Dr. Reynolds began, pulling up a chair. The bloodwork nurse Santos ordered revealed elevated cardiac enzymes. Combined with your family history, which you initially declined to share, we ran additional tests. Julian felt his carefully constructed world tilt. What are you saying? You have significant arterial blockage, early stage, but progressing. Dr. Reynolds displayed the imaging on his tablet. Without intervention, you're looking at a major cardiac event within the next year, possibly sooner given your stress levels. The room seemed to lose oxygen. Julian Harrington, who had survived corporate warfare and economic downturns, suddenly faced an enemy he could not intimidate or outmaneuver. His own body had betrayed him. Surgery? Julian's voice came out smaller than he intended. Lifestyle changes first. Medication, stress reduction. If those don't work, then yes, we'll discuss surgical options. Dr. Reynolds stood. We'll give you time to process this. Nurse Santos will go over your care plan. When the doctor left, silence filled the space between Julian and Camila. She pulled her chair closer, her expression gentle but honest. You suspected this, didn't you? Julian asked, the pieces falling into place. That's why you ordered the extra blood work? I suspected something cardiovascular, yes. Your color, breathing patterns, the way you held your chest when you thought no one was watching. Camila opened his chart. You've been ignoring your body's warnings for months, maybe years. The weight of mortality. Julian laughed, but the sound held no humor. So the arrogant billionaire gets his cosmic comeuppance. Is that the moral of this story? This isn't about morality or punishment, it's about reality. Camila's voice remained steady. Your body doesn't care about your net worth or your achievements. It only knows whether you're taking care of it or not. For the first time in 15 years, Julian felt tears threatening. Not from pain, but from fear, so profound it shattered. His defenses? I don't know how to be weak. I don't know how to not be in control. Being human isn't weakness. It's honesty. Camila handed him a tissue without making it awkward. You've spent so long proving you're invincible that you forgot invincibility is a myth. We're all vulnerable. Strong ones admit it. Julian wiped his eyes, embarrassed but also relieved. I've burned so many bridges, treated people like chess. Pieces, built an empire on the backs of others without caring about the cost. His voice cracked. What if I've wasted my entire life chasing the wrong things? Then you have a choice right now. Camila leaned forward. You can see this diagnosis as an ending or as a wake-up call. Your body is telling you something needs to change. The question is whether you're finally ready to listen. I don't even know where to start. Start with what scares you most. Camila's eyes held compassion that Julian had not experienced in years. For most people like you, that's letting go of control and trusting others. Julian looked at this woman who had challenged him, predicted his collapse, and now sat with him in his darkest moment, without judgment. Why are you being kind to me? After how I treated you, the staff, everyone? Because underneath all that arrogance and control, I see someone who's terrified of being the powerless child he once was. Camila stood to adjust his pillows, a small gesture that felt monumental. I've worked with dying children who taught me that every moment matters. You're not dying, Julian, but you're not truly living either. The beginning of change over the next week, Julian remained at the hospital for observation and treatment planning. Camila was not always his nurse, but she checked on him during her shifts, bringing not just medical expertise, but also conversation that challenged and changed him. Tell me about Snow Paulo, Julian asked one evening, as she reviewed his medication. Scheduled Silas smiled, surprised by his interest. Beautiful city. Chaotic, vibrant, alive. My family runs a small cafe in Villa Maddalena. Every Sunday, we cook together, and the neighborhood comes to eat and talk. No one cares about status or money. It's just good food and good company. That sounds impossible in my world. Maybe you're in the wrong world. Camila sat down, recognizing. Another teaching moment. What would you do if money was not a measure of success? Julian considered this radical question. I used to love engineering, building things, solving impossible problems, before it became about profit margins and shareholder value. So you lost yourself in the empire you built. I became the empire. There's nothing else left. Julian's admission hung heavy in the air. Then maybe it's time to find Julian again, separate from Harrington Industries. Camila checked her watch. What brings you joy? Not satisfaction or achievement, but actual joy. Julian opened his mouth to answer, then realized he could not remember. The last time he felt genuine joy. Success, yes. Victory, certainly. But joy? That emotion had been filed away as inefficient years ago. I don't know, he whispered. That's the most honest thing you've said since we met. Camila prepared to leave for another patient. Figure out what brings you joy, Julian. That's your first assignment. The transformation takes root 2 weeks after his discharge. Julian did. Something unprecedented. Cleared his schedule for an entire day and visited Manhattan General, not as a patient or donor, but as an observer. He watched Camila work, saw how she transformed fear into calm, how she treated every patient with the same dignity regardless of their background. He noticed the overwhelmed staff, the outdated equipment in certain wings, the way nurses worked double shifts because of understaffing. For the first time, he saw the hospital not as a tax deduction, but as an ecosystem of human beings struggling to save lives despite inadequate resources that evening. Julian requested a meeting with hospital administration and Camila. In the conference room, he presented a proposal that stunned everyone. I'm establishing the Santos Foundation for Healthcare Excellence, Julian announced, displaying a presentation he had created himself. Not named after me, but after someone who showed me what excellence truly means. The foundation will focus on 3 things: improving nurse-to-patient ratios, upgrading equipment in underserved departments, and creating mental health support for healthcare workers. Camila stared at him, speechless for perhaps the first time since they met. But there are conditions, Julian continued, looking directly at her. Camila, I want you on the board. Not as a figurehead, but as an active director. Your voice, your values, your understanding of what patients and staff actually need. This foundation will be built on your principles, not my ego. Julian, I can't accept this. Camila finally found her words. I'm a bedside nurse. That's where I belong. Remain a bedside nurse. Foundation will work around your schedule. Julian's voice held a humility that was new but genuine. You taught me that impact is not about how much money you throw at problems. It's about understanding what people truly need. I can provide resources, but I need you to provide wisdom. Hospital administrator looked between them, sensing something profound shifting in the room. Why are you really doing this? Camila asked, searching his face for ulterior motives. The measure of a changed man, Julian took a breath, choosing his words carefully. Because you were right. I built an empire but forgot about the people who make empires possible. I measured success in dollars while you measured it in lives changed. I want to learn that measurement. I want to build something that matters beyond my obituary. This is not about impressing me, is it? Camila's eyes narrowed slightly. No, it's about becoming someone I can respect when I look in the mirror. Julian closed his laptop. You asked me what brings joy? I spent 2 weeks thinking about it. The answer is solving problems that help people, not just enrich shareholders. Engineering solutions that matter. It used to bring me joy before I forgot how to feel it. Camila stood, walking to the window overlooking the city. The hospital administrator excused himself, sensing this conversation had become personal. You understand this does not erase how you've treated people, Camila said softly. Building a foundation does not undo the employees you destroyed, the competitors you crushed, the lives you disrupted for profit. I know, but it's a start. Julian joined her at the window. I can't undo the past. I can only try to do better moving forward. That man who walked into this hospital 3 weeks ago was heading toward a heart attack and a lonely death. You saved my life, Camila. Not just medically, but in every way that matters. She turned to face him, and Julian saw tears glistening. In her eyes, you did the hard work. I just held up a mirror. Will you help me? With the foundation, with staying accountable, with remembering that people are not assets? Julian's voice carried a vulnerability he had spent his life hiding. I need someone who will tell me the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Camila smiled, the same calm smile that had infuriated and intrigued him from their first meeting. I'll help you, but not because I think you're worthy of redemption, because I believe everyone deserves the chance to become better, and you're finally ready to try. The unexpected gift of humility 6 months later. The Santos Foundation had transformed 3 hospital departments, hired 40 new nurses, and created a mental health program that became a model for hospitals nationwide. Julian had stepped back from daily operations at Harrington Industries, appointing a new CEO while he focused on work that fulfilled rather than consumed him. He met Camila for coffee. Every Tuesday morning before her shift, a ritual that had become sacred to both of them. They talked about foundation projects, debated healthcare policy, and slowly built a friendship based on mutual respect rather than hierarchy. My mother called yesterday, Julian mentioned, stirring his coffee. First time we've spoken in 5 years. I apologize for disappearing into my empire and forgetting she existed beyond monthly checks. How did she respond? Camila asked, genuinely interested. She cried. Then she invited me to Sunday dinner. Julian smiled, and the expression transformed. His entire face. Apparently, I have a nephew I've never met. 3 years old? Are you going? I'm terrified, but yes. Julian met her eyes. You taught me that being vulnerable is not weakness, so I'm trying to practice it, even when it's uncomfortable.
Camila
reached across the table and squeezed his hand briefly. I'm proud of you, Julian. Not because of the foundation or the money, because you chose to be human again. I had a good teacher. Julian finished his coffee, checking his watch. I should let you get to work, lives to save and all that. Before you go, I have something for you. Camila pulled a small wrapped package from her bag. Open it later when you need a reminder. Julian took the gift, curiosity evident in his expression. What is it? A reminder that transformation is possible for anyone willing to do the work. Now go. Your nephew is waiting to meet his uncle. Later that evening, Julian unwrapped Camila's gift. Inside was a simple frame containing a quote, "The measure of a life is not what you accumulate, but what you give away and who you become in the process." Below the quote was a photo of them at the foundation's opening ceremony. Julian looking uncomfortable in the spotlight, while Camila smiled beside him. On the back she had written, "To Julian, who learned that true strength is admitting you need help. Keep becoming." Julian placed the frame on his desk, where it would remind him every day that the arrogant billionaire who entered Manhattan General had died in that hospital bed. In his place stood a man still learning, still growing, still discovering that the greatest wealth was not money or power, but the ability to impact lives with purpose and humility. The quiet nurse from Brazil had not just outsmarted his arrogance. She had saved him from a life measured in dollars, but bankrupt in meaning. And for that, Julian Harrington would spend the rest of his days trying to pay forward a debt that could never truly be repaid. Only honored through action. The transformation was complete, not because he had changed overnight, but because he finally understood that becoming better was a lifelong journey, not a destination. And he was ready to walk that path, one humble step at a time.